Hey, my name is Jacob, and today on Make Life Easier, what we're going to do is be looking at an email management system known as Inbox Zero. Now, Inbox Zero is an action-based email management system, which essentially relies on the fact that there is going to be a few verbs that I give you today. Those verbs, you are then going to take them and then implement them throughout your email system, which should hopefully make your life a lot easier and also eradicate any of that stress or anxiety that comes from having emails in your inbox just sitting there. So let's go back 10, 12 years ago. There was a man named Merlin Mann who used to be known as a productivity expert. Since then, he's kind of shied away from that title as he doesn't want to be associated as this kind of guy who's only known for productivity. Back then, in about 2007, he led a Google talk about Inbox Zero, which was this new concept that he had come up with at the time, which was essentially meant to eliminate the amount of time that you spend thinking about emails and kind of reshape the framework of this basically kind of new and in its infancy email system, which was incredibly beneficial, and it has been for me, and I use it every day since then. Here are a few key principles about Inbox Zero. Firstly, it has been reported that Inbox Zero does refer to the amount of emails that are in your inbox being zero, but that's actually untrue. When Mann is talking about this in his Google talk, he talks over and over again about the amount of time that should be dedicated to thinking about the emails in your inbox, and that amount of time should be zero, because a lot of people tend to think that when they get emails in, that you need to respond to all these emails. Oh my God, I need to respond to 200 emails. When that's actually not the case. You might need to process 200 emails, but you don't necessarily need to respond to 200 emails. And he mentions it online a bunch of times. He says that during a workday, your time and your attention and your energy are all finite resources that you have access to, which means that if you are spending 80 to 90% of all of the time and all of the energy you have inside your emails just fretting about them and wandering back and forth and fiddling up and down, that's not productive to get your day done. And by implementing this system, you're going to be able to alleviate that time and free it up to actually be able to do other things. He gives this example of your work life being a box, and you can put as many blocks as you want in the box, but every time you put a stupid block in, you lose the chance to put a good block in later down the track. So why don't you lay the foundations of this box with as many good blocks as you can as you go, which I think is a really good metaphor. He says again in the talk at some point that we need to move away from checking our emails because checking has a lot of connotations behind it. He gives an example that if you were to go and check up on a friend's cat while they're away, you check up on the first day, they're fine. You check up on the second day, they're still fine. You come back on the third day, and if the cat's spontaneously combusted, you're not going to come back on the fourth day to check if it's still fine. On the third day, you're going to realize that there's a problem, and then you're going to go from there. So email needs to be that same kind of thing. As soon as the email comes in, you're not necessarily responding to it, but you're processing it, which means maybe you need to archive it. Maybe you need to delegate it. Maybe you need to just get up and do it, and it doesn't necessarily require a response. Another key principle of this is to stop yak shaving. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what yak shaving means, essentially it means procrastinating an original task or a goal that you tried to do in favor of something that's not important. So say I'm here setting up for my video, and behind my camera, I see a load of paperwork that I forgot to arrange earlier on. And then I go and do that paperwork instead of sitting here and recording the video. I know that the paperwork needs to get done, but that's not my goal right now. My goal is to record and release and edit this video. So what I'm going to do is make a separate time to put that information down that I have it and I need to do it at some point in time. And then at that point in time, I'll go and do it. Right now, I'm recording a video. So it's really important that we separate kind of the goals that we're setting now from the goals that we might want to achieve later on at some point. It's interesting because most people tend to see an inbox as like a coagulated list of things that are required of them, but they haven't done yet. It kind of just seems like a big box with a bomb in it that's waiting to explode, and just because it hasn't exploded yet, they haven't done anything about it. I know that I personally, maybe 3 to 4 years ago, used to really fret about checking my inbox and seeing an email from a boss about a change in a work shift or something that I might need to reply to. And that used to give me a huge amount of anxiety. But with this new system, it's really actually fundamentally helped me because I've been able to move away from that process and into this task-based action system, which just goes, All right, we'll look at it and now it's gone and I don't need to worry about it anymore. Okay, now let's jump into the actual process and show you how it works. So today, essentially, I'm going to give you 4 verbs. Those verbs are what you're going to need to integrate into your email workflow, which is essentially integrating the system and making your life a whole lot easier. So let's get started with the verbs. So the first verb I have for you is archive or delete. So most of us know what delete means. Delete means to get rid of an email. So if you get spam, if you get your aunt posting about coupons that you might use, just get rid of that. If you don't need it, get rid of it. Now the other part of that, archiving. Now that for me, at least when I first learned about this, was a relatively new concept to me. Archiving is essentially the process of saying, I don't need to look at this now, but I might need it one day. I'm just taking it out of the inbox, which essentially should be just the things that are coming into my inbox so I can look at them. The inbox is the place I haven't looked at yet. So I take it from the inbox and I put it into the library. And in the library, I can just quickly search through them all and go, oh, there it is. That's that exact thing that I needed. So that's the difference between delete and archive. So when you need to archive something, I would say it's in the realm of a receipt that you might get that you've purchased for a concert that you're going to. So you just put that in the archive and you can get it back out whenever you need it. The second one, which is important for me, is to delegate, which means that we're taking those emails that I actually need to give either vertically or horizontally in the workspace that aren't important just for me. Which means that I take emails like, hey, have you got this poster ready yet? I'm not in charge of the poster, but I might be in charge of actually delivering the poster, which means that I need to go to the graphic design team and say, here is a forwarded email of the task which you need to do. And it's important in these situations to actually send out a little feeler to yourself, maybe 2 or 3 weeks or whenever the deadline is, to say, let's follow up on this and make sure it actually got done, because it is still your responsibility. Here comes the third one, respond. And as it sounds, it essentially just means to communicate back with those people. So when you get an email about something that is your responsibility and you can answer within 2 minutes, go ahead and answer it, because it's important that that email gets solved. The key rule here is to just keep it quick, keep it succinct, and keep it, respectful. Here comes the fourth one. So the last one and the final one, which is probably the most important, is do. So that means that you get an email that says, hey, can you go and take the trash out on the 26th? Hey, we need to hire this tripod out for this event. That you actually get up and you do it. The worst thing that you can do when implementing this system, or even if you get one thing out of this video, make it that you actually do things. When you get an email in, that you do it and you check it off that list. I've found over time that it's actually so much more satisfying if you just take the item that has been done and you archive it. For me, with the little animation that plays on Spark, which is my email browser of choice, when that slides across to the left, it actually gives me like a little bit of like hype. I feel like I've completed the task. I can move on to the next task now. And it's really important that you implement this fourth step of do, because in a way what you're saying is you also value your time and you value the things that you're doing within your life. Because what you're saying is, I value this task enough for it to get done, enough for me to prioritize it. Now this isn't necessarily inbox zero, but it's something that's important to me and the delegation of the tasks that I have in my life, which is I would recommend getting a to-do app. Now, I know what you're thinking, to-do apps are scary, and when you put everything that you need to do in a list and you see everything there for the first time and you realize, holy crap, I've got no idea how to even start this, you've already done it wrong. Because what you actually should be doing, and the most important thing that I bring up now, is that when you create a task, what you're doing is you're creating not only measurable, not only quantifiable, but also with a deadline. So these are like the 3 qualifiers that you need for any given task. It's not, we need milk. It's in the shopping list dedicated to Mondays, I need to put milk in there, because on Monday, when I go shopping, I'm gonna get milk. So that's just a really good example for me personally, that it really helps me because it gives me all of those parameters, and if I fail it, then it's really clear that I have failed it, which in a way actually prevents me from failing it. So in terms of an app to do this, I personally like Things 3. It's a really helpful app for me. The UI is really beautiful. I have a great time using it. It integrates with other apps like Bear and Spark. So you can essentially almost pull emails straight out of Spark and throw them in Things. And then you have the to-do list right there, and you've got a hyperlink that takes you right back to Spark, which is great. So just rounding off, here are a few quick tips and the important things that you need to get out of this video, or at least I hope you get out of this video. So the first one is, try and do email less. And I know that maybe sounds counterintuitive for what I'm trying to get across here, but that's the important part, and that's the part that you need to try and get to. Essentially, what you're trying to do is eliminate the amount of time that you are dedicating to email. So when you implement this system, what you should find is that when you check your emails, they don't seem so daunting. And then essentially when you go back, you only have 1 or 2 at a time. You don't, like my sisters, have 400, 500 emails just sitting there that you haven't checked yet. Another quick tip is just maybe to consider using templates. Templates, if you're using Gmail, are really simple to set up and create. They're essentially just these little quick add-ons that have pre-filled responses that you can put little bits in. Like if you manage a website and someone asks an obvious question about a frequently asked question, you can essentially create a template that says, hey blank, thanks for stopping by. Here's what you were looking for in the information, and it just pastes it in down the bottom, which is great. And another tip is fiddling. Try not to fiddle. You never want to be that person who's just going up and down your email list, just like thinking that you need to respond to all of these 200 emails. Just take the time, slow down, and process them. You're not responding, you're processing, which means you might not need to reply to any emails. You might need to archive all of those emails. You might need to do 2 of those emails. And that's a really fundamental and helpful tip that's worked for me. And lastly, if you notice yourself doing any yak shaving, every once in a while, just do a quick check-in with yourself and just say, is my time and is my attention being put to use right now? Is it being valuable? Is it helping me or helping my company in any way whatsoever? So that was essentially my look through of inbox zeroing. I'd love to know what you guys think. I know Merlin personally really hates when this gets misreported or underreported, because not only does he want to kind of disassociate himself from that, it is intrinsically a part of him, and I feel like it actually kind of does frustrate him a little when people are saying the wrong things about it, because it is linked to him. So if I've done anything wrong, please let me know. Apart from that, I'd love if you guys would subscribe and let me know what you think about the video in the comments below. Thanks guys.